Hey everyone, and welcome back to Investing Guide. Chamath Palihapitiya is the biggest name across the financial world right now. Over the past decade, he's earned himself the title of one of the smartest investors on the planet. Earning a big name in the world of business comes a magnet that pulls in issues and problems. Recently, Chamath has been accused of fraudulent activities in which he misled investors. This accusation is pretty insane and comes from Hindenburg Research. You might know these guys. It is the same company that exposed Nikola Motors, which led to the CEO getting fired. But why accuse Chamath? What are they basing all these claims off? Stick with us until the end of this video, because Hindenburg Research has discovered some pretty insane things about Chamath that you're not going to want to miss. We are a new and upcoming channel, so leave us a comment, tell us what you love and hate, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's get back into it. So in October 2020, Chamath Palihapitiya approached Clover Health and took the company public. It is a profitable company and it was a successful merger, but Hindenburg claims that suspicious and even illegal activities were going on behind the scenes.
Shares of Clover Health falling after Hindenburg Research published a critical report on the seller of Medicare-backed insurance plans, calling it a, quote, broken business. Investor Chamath Palihapitiya holds a 27% stake in Clover and brought it public through a SPAC.
But this claim from Hindenburg reckons Chamath actually misled investors about some pretty critical parts of Clover Health and its business right before it went public. But this claim from Hindenburg isn't just searching Google or Wikipedia for a couple of hours. It was some pretty in-depth research that involved multiple interviews with doctors and former interviews. Hindenburg actually went over heaps of government reports, insurance filings, advertising, everything. The whole process took them about 4 months. So you need to go back in time to 2012 when Vivek Garipalli actually decided to set up Clover Health. He had the fantastic idea to build upon Medicare and offer healthcare insurance, and since then the company has done nothing but grow fast. In 2019, having a customer base of around 60,000 and being considered one of the fastest growing Medicare Advantage insurance companies on the planet. So this is where Hindenburg Research starts making its claims against the Clover Health and social capital combination. Hindenburg states that it found some serious flaws in the reported growth of Clover Health, with a particular focus on questionable sales practices, even going as far as to say that these practices were both deceptive and illegal. Hindenburg reckons Chamath actually misled investors about some pretty critical parts of Clover Health and its business, right before it went public. So let's take a closer look at the investigation into Clover Health and what actually happened. Starting off with misleading marketing practices on the services, including in their package. Hindenburg stated that in 2016, Clover deceived seniors on paying for services that weren't actually included in their medical plans. But to take advantage of the elderly, these aren't just vague and unsubstantiated claims. The Centers for Medical and Medicaid Services, CMS, actually came out and fined Clover Health for a sum of $106,000. Justice was served? Sure, that's a lot of money for you and me, but let's face it, it's a drop in the bucket in the wealth of a huge company like Clover Care. They actually did not change anything about how they were taking advantage of the elderly. They just carried on. The Department of Justice heard about this and decided to step in. After a seriously hard look at the company from the American government, they went back out and listed 12 key issues with the company. One of the most prominent ones was Seek Medicare. Now, this is another issue that the Hindenburg Research team has decided to focus on. Now, Seek Medicare is a subsidiary of Clover Health. They recommend different kinds of insurance packages to its clients. You sign up and fill in your details, and it'll recommend a package for you. And you can already guess which insurance packages it recommends the most? That's right, Clover Health. This practice in many fields of business is illegal, but in the medical field, it is not. So Hindenburg makes the fairly reasonable claim that Seek Medicare is actually extremely biased towards Clover Health and the insurance packages that its parent company offers. But the story gets even fishier than that and starts to surround one man, in particular, Hiram Bermudez. Now, Mr. Bermudez actually sits as the head of sales of Clover Health, but before that, he worked at a sales place called Bermudez and Henson Assurance. Yep, his own company. But Hiram removed his name in Bermudez and Henson, B&H, and replaced it with the name of his wife. This gives Hindenburg room to conclude that there is conflict of interest in Hiram's position and that Clover hid this fact from its investors, therefore misleading investors. B&A Assurance is actually a lot like Seek Medicare. in that they offer good healthcare packages to their customers. A lot of people at Clover Health early on maintained that Hiram Bermudez was critical in the early days with building up the company from nothing with his huge sales team. But I think you're starting to see the problem here. How can Clover Health directly hire a man that is personally involved with potential competitors? Isn't that biased? Well, yes, it is. Furthermore, Clover has been caught red-handed handing out gift cards to doctors and nurses as an incentive for them to recruit patients into Clover Healthcare and to choose their Medicare plans. So sure, Clover did some questionable things and they've certainly been found out, but how is Chamath Palihapitiya related at all? Well, Hindenburg highlights the fact that Chamath went out of his way to avoid mentioning legal investigations into healthcare. Alright, Hindenburg has these claims of misleading investors and questionable sales practices of these two world-famous billionaires and their multi-billion-dollar dealings. Mr. Palihapitiya actually went out of his way in an interview and flat out said that Clover Healthcare does not go out of its way and bribe doctors and nurses. Is this just a blatant lie that contradicts what Clover has been doing? But before you start thinking one way or another, don't forget that both Chamath Palihapitiya and Clover Health CEO Vivek Garipalli actually went out of their way and answered every single one of Hindenburg Research's claims in an official statement. Of course, all this did was just add fuel to the fire. So what does Chamath say about all these allegations? Before we go into it, how are we doing so far though? We are a new and upcoming channel, so leave us a comment below and tell us if this video is really interesting or a little bit boring. Either way, leave us a like and please subscribe. Every little helps. Chamath and Clover are fully aware of all these proceedings and did not make any appropriate disclosures. What about Seek Medicare? That's pretty messy stuff. The SEC did look into Clover after the Hindenburg report, and they didn't really find anything. The Seek Medicare is a startup with its own team, plans, funding, and means of operation. And Clover officially announced that it is not actually unusual for insurance companies to be interested in field marketing organizations. Further digging into Seek Medicare recommended insurance plans reveals no bias towards Clover. But what about Hiram Bermudez and B&H Assurance? Clover flat out revealed that Hiram receives no compensation from Clover for his other work, actually going even further to state that building these sorts of relationships is pretty standard and somewhat vital in the Medicare Advantage space, and that it shall continue to do so. So it looks like the gloves are definitely off with Clover Health, and Chamath Palihapitiya, and Hindenburg Research. Both sides may have got some good punches in, but the battle is still going. What do you think about our research? Did we miss something? Who do you think is going to come out on top? Leave it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And while you're here, go ahead and click on one of these two videos on your screen. See ya!